Hey, what's up? Well, welcome to October. I am so glad we have finally made it to probably what is my third favorite month of the year. Um, it's kind of odd how my favorite and least favorite months, we go from my least favorite months to my favorite months a lot quicker than vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Um, my least favorite months are, of course, the hottest months, meaning like August, well, July and August, after the 4th for sure. And really, 3/4 of September are astrologically summer, which people refuse to acknowledge. And it's very sickening how people think September begins. I mean, autumn begins on September the 1st, that September and autumn are synonymous somehow, but they're not, because 3/4 of September are astrologically summer. And what that means is that, well, you know how you normally have two possible zodiac, we always have two possible zodiacs. When someone says they're born in a particular month, they could be one of two signs, okay? And like, I'm Gemini, I was born in June, but if I'd been born a few days later, I'd be Cancer. And not the disease, the sign. So it's like that with every month. And so with September, it's the dividing line, not between August and September, but between Virgo and Libra. And, that's the difference between summer and autumn. The equinox is the first day of Libra. And in the spring, it's the first day of Aries, which is actually the new year in astrology, not January. So, without further ado, we're in October and I'd like to unbox. I'm still kind of stuck in September mode because, I like to think of September as like the last month of the summer as opposed to the first month of the fall, because I see it, more as the ending of summer than the beginning of fall, because as I've stated before, 3/4 of the month are summer. So it's going to feel like summer around here for even longer than that. So I see it as, I associate it with blue and sapphires, and it's kind of hard to get out of that mode of wanting to wear blue since it's one of my favorite colors. Used to be my number one favorite color when I was more hell-bent on being a boy, so to speak. But now I like purple and green to a lesser extent, and other colors, almost as much. So, I want to talk about a number of things in this video, like an unboxing. If I have to cut it short, it'll be that my dad came home, and I want to hurry up and cut into this package that I got. It was eBay. It's very difficult to cut, like, it's like I want to cut just one side of it and not the whole top, but I ordered something that I've been kind of thinking about. So what is it? Oh wow. I have been thinking about this, I want to say, since before the pandemic. Oh my gosh, was it 2018 or 19? 2018, I think. It's actually because of this stupid COVID thing. It's hard to remember what life was like in 2018 and 19. But I had been wanting these Ryder and Honey Marin dolls. I know it's silly that I ever even watched Frozen 2, let alone got into it. But what makes them special is that I've always had a weakness for Native American looking dolls. And what's cool about them is, the light's too bright. What's cool about them is they're dressed Native American, but they look more white. And they're the only brunette characters on Frozen. And personally, I think he looks a lot better than Kristoff and Hans. But I've always had a weakness for, Native American type dolls. And what makes these guys special is that they are not Well, with the hat, they are. But they are not a full 11 inches tall. This guy, see, from heel to head, he is 10 3/4, and that's very special because, let's see, 10 3/4, that's about the height of Kevin, boyfriend of Skipper. And if I'd known he was short like that, like to put it into perspective, this is a, well, you can't hardly tell the difference, but this is like a Ken, and this is Ryder. So he is definitely shorter than your average Ken, and she is shorter than most Barbies in height. You see that? She's more like a Skipper height, like a 90s Skipper. And if I'd known that, I probably would have gotten him sooner. And plus, you know, he has a coloration, black hair and blue eyes, more, you know, that's much more attractive. You know, what, Kristoff is pretty much the opposite, blonde hair and hazel or brown eyes. And, you know, that's your typical attractive Ken look, but he's dressed like a Native American. And so that's very special to me, to have white passing. And oh, the thing about her is she looks Native American, but she's got freckles. I don't know if you can see that. But, so they're the only brunette characters. And they introduced them probably because of the lack of that. You know, it's all blondes and redheads in the main characters. And so in Frozen 2, it was more of an autumn theme. And, you know, they have these Native American looking white characters. And to me, that's very special because they're short, you know, they're dressed like Native American dolls. And, you know, they have white features. And I just want to say that, you know, that is proof that, I mean, well, it's not proof, but the fact that they look so good in Native American attire, which I probably would as well if I could grow my hair long without clogging the bathroom drain, or like when I was younger and I had long hair as a little kid, I would have been very cute dressed as a Native American, you know, but supposedly that's cultural appropriation. But, you know, that, it just illustrates the fact that, you know, the Native Americans, like, they did not all die of smallpox. They basically live among us. You know, they just look like me. They look more like me. And others like me. They just look like brunette white people. And even, you know, after the fourth generation, I mean, it doesn't really matter how dark your grandparents were. Like, you could have, you know, a black person, and then if they marry, or if they have a child with a blonde, and that child, you know, has a child with a blonde, well, the grandchildren, you will not be able to tell. Like, you could look right at them and never know that they're part black. Well, the same thing is true with Native American heritage. You know, I have Native American heritage on both sides, my mom and my dad, different tribes. And, well, I do happen to have dark eyes and dark hair. And, you know, if I went outside in the sun, I would probably tan and not like it very much. Hence the excessive light that I put on me to look prettier and more delicate. I would have a darker complexion if I spent more time in the sun. And so, you know, Native American people, you know, they didn't just all die of smallpox. The reality is that they were outbred. And I think at least a subconscious level, I think everyone kind of knows that, you know, the reality is that the future of a race or a group of people is solely dependent on how many children they can have or will have. And if a race does not reproduce within itself, you know, a race that cannot reproduce like within itself is not a race. And so, like, you can only have grandchildren that look like you, and, you know, future generations, if your children also marry people that look like you. And that's why, you know, they're wanting to take away women's rights and, you know, make it to where white women in particular are forced to have unwanted kids. And it's just, you know, I mean, it sucks when you're a woman, and it's just a terrible thing. And I feel like, you know, our only recourse is to just resist every way possible, every which way possible. Just resist any anything that, the white man could possibly have to offer us. Because the way I feel about it is they already outbred, any Native American ancestors. Like, I'm basically been convinced my whole life that I'm white for all intents and purposes. And that's wrong. I shouldn't be forced to identify with a race that I don't really believe in. You know what I'm saying? This white race, they have to identify with the race that can have blue eyes and has color coded humanity by skin tone, which is ridiculous because eye color, I think is more important. Skin tone is the one that you could actually change if you laid out in the sun long enough. Eye color is the one that doesn't change. Hair color changes throughout the lifespan, no matter who you are. Skin tone, that changes depending on sun exposure. But eye color is the one, that's why I wear these sunglasses, because I feel like your eyes are such an important part of your identity. And my real name is a continuous reminder of that, which is why I don't want to be called that on here. And so yeah, it's like, I just hate being forced, every time I hear about like, what how they're wanting to take away women's rights and force us to settle for less or as little as possible, by basically not having a job, not having a backup plan, and being dependent on a man in an economy like this and being saddled with kids. It's just infuriating. And I don't think it's fair that I should be forced to identify with a race, that basically, just basically is the reason why we don't have like Native Americans today is because they were outbred. And so I just, I shouldn't have to continue on their traditions, their lineage, their holidays. It's not so much that I have anything against Halloween and Christmas, but it's like sometimes I just don't feel like I'm in the spirit. Like early October shouldn't have to be Halloween. You know what I'm saying? Early October should be early October. Just another warm month, the zodiac being Libra, not Scorpio yet. And I shouldn't have to think about Halloween the whole month of October. I should not have to think about Christmas from Thanksgiving until almost New Year's. And it's just so unfair, that, white people's traditions are being carried on because they basically, sort of absorbed all these other races. All other non-black races could theoretically be absorbed into the mainstream white culture. And after a few generations, like, you would have no clue, that someone was part Asian or part Native American or part Hispanic. And that's what people don't understand, is that, they worry a lot about, Hispanic people being everywhere. But the reality is that I look at some Hispanic people and I think, how are they Hispanic and I not? You know what I'm saying? The fact that they speak Spanish is literally the only thing that makes some Hispanic people more Hispanic than I am. You know what I'm saying? Some of them actually have light eyes, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, they're speaking Spanish and they have light eyes, lighter than mine could ever be. And it's just so unfair. And I feel like air is coming on. See, that's what I'm saying. We have air condition at least 9 months out of the year, and then we don't really need the heater the other 3 months. So I just don't think it's fair, that I should have to be, forced to identify with a race and follow their religion, their traditions, and that I don't really agree with. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree that I'm part of the white race or I have to fit into the white American box and white this and white that. And I don't necessarily think I'm Native American, but I just don't want to be white. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to, see, with me, it's not, the whole trans thing was never about me wanting to be a man so much as not wanting to play the role of the white woman and the white counterpart to the white man. And, I think it's great if women are kind of abandoning their culture, so to speak. So, I don't feel a connection to that white culture and white heritage and all that. I never have. And so, yeah. And another thing I want to end with is I've been following, this. I am totally blown away with the story of Pastor Anderson, who I've been listening to his sermons for at least 16 years. Well, I don't agree with much of what he says. I've just enjoyed listening because obviously I'm not going to go to an actual church. I just like to, hear his shocking sermon sometimes. But I am shocked that his own kids have grown up to despise him. And more shockingly than that is that his wife, it doesn't surprise me at all that he was beating his wife and beating his kids, but the fact that his wife took over and abused the kids for him when he wasn't around, or, she was like not only complicit or allowed it to go on, she actively participated in it herself. Because I knew Pastor Anderson was a-hole Anderson, in my mind, because he literally wished me dead. He personally wished me dead. In 2000, was it 14 or 15? I can't remember. It's funny how I can't remember that date, but I can remember so many others so clearly. But it doesn't surprise me, but it surprises me that Mrs. Anderson was not this meek little quiet church mouse of a counterpart, like that she portrayed herself to be, that, she was the nice one and he was the harsh one. And so, yeah, I'm kind of shocked that, but that's what I'm saying, white people don't even get along with their own kids and their own people. Like, they hurt other white people, they hurt their own wives and children. So, how can they really be a cohesive race or culture that I want to be a part of when, they're just so hostile to even the people closest to them? And, I can remember in 2017, there was this thing called white Sharia, where it was like this fantasy that white men had about, like, basically living like a parallel lifestyle, only it was like, I guess, a Christian version of, what they were doing in Muslim countries where they have multiple wives and dozens of children from each woman. And I really don't even know, how they were going to put this in action, but I just knew I wanted no part of it. And so, the minute someone is like even mildly racist or something, especially as a man, that's a red flag. And it's like, if you don't like non-white people, then you don't like some of my heritage, because as you well know, I'm not 100% white. I'm not part black, but I'm not 100% white. And I don't, I could never see myself, married to a man that is lighter than me in any way, as I've stated in one of my oldest videos, because I would feel like I'm not the delicate, pretty one, the princess, because I associate fair skin, the word fair means beautiful. And it came to mean that because they associated a light skin with beauty back in the day. And so fair skin was beautiful skin, and we were called the fair sex because we tend to be a little lighter on average, partly because women just didn't go outside as much in the sun. And it just goes along with that theme of purity and being delicate and not weathered and rugged and outdoorsy like a man. And so I could never enjoy sleeping next to a man that has blue or light eyes, like a pretty ring, and once upon a time had blonde or red hair, like Elsa and Anna and Barbie, whereas mine, has pretty much been a shade of brown my whole life, though it was lighter brown as a baby. And so I could never enjoy that. I could never enjoy being with a man like that because, even if he doesn't expressly say that he feels superior, or even if he stated that he felt inferior, like he likes dark-haired women, well, I would be insulted by that, because it's like, I don't want to be with an effing H-youth poster boy. I don't want to be with such a person intimately or in any way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? So I could never enjoy a relationship with such a man. And I'll go ahead and post this video.